Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You're fake news. But let me just tell you that
October 2025, a new era of economic conversation begins, not on Wall Street, but from the White House podium. Former President Donald Trump, back at the center of global attention, steps before reporters and begins what will become one of the most discussed press interactions of the year. In a tone both familiar and defiant, Trump lays out a vision that merges political power, industrial revival, and financial nationalism. But behind the rhetoric, questions emerge. Is this a renewed form of state capitalism, or something entirely new? The press asks about Intel, one of America's oldest technology giants. Trump describes a meeting, a proposal, and an unconventional deal. The United States should own 10% of Intel. Not the government buying stock, but Intel giving it voluntarily. For decades, Washington kept private enterprise separate from state ownership. But Trump's proposal blurs that line. It signals a new industrial policy, where patriotic investment replaces traditional incentives. When he says, "I just made $10 billion for the United States," it's less an accounting statement and more a declaration of a new philosophy: America as a shareholder of its own corporations. The conversation shifts. Reporters press him on whether this public-private model is truly American. Trump responds not with hesitation, but with a lesson in leverage. He reminds the room that tariffs, long dismissed as outdated tools, are once again central to his strategy. He connects tariffs not just to revenue, but to peace, claiming that trade penalties prevented wars. It's a striking assertion that economic deterrence could replace military action. In Trump's worldview, a 100% tariff can stop a 100% conflict. Critics may label this transactional diplomacy. Supporters call it economic realism. Either way, it reshapes the logic of global relations, where import taxes and foreign policy become part of the same ledger. Trump's remarks stretch backward in time, to the 1870s, to an America built on tariffs before the creation of income tax. He paints a nostalgic picture of a self-funding republic, rich through foreign levies rather than domestic burden. To his audience, it sounds both revolutionary and historical, a call to restore economic sovereignty. Yet beneath that message lies a complex implication, one where global trade partners may soon face a stronger, more transactional United States. The questioning turns to Ukraine. The press asks about security guarantees, U.S. involvement, and air support. Trump answers by redefining American aid. He claims the U.S. now makes money through NATO reimbursements, no longer losing funds, but selling weapons to allies. It's a rebranding of foreign policy as commerce, with the United States as supplier, NATO as buyer, and Ukraine as beneficiary through intermediaries. He insists, "We pay no money to Ukraine anymore." In his framing, foreign assistance becomes a profitable transaction, a contrast to the decades-long view of aid as moral obligation. Then, Trump shifts again, from economics to diplomacy. He reveals he has spoken with Vladimir Putin and claims progress toward ending the conflict. In a matter-of-fact tone, he outlines a vision of negotiation driven by personal rapport, not bureaucratic channels. He speaks of Alaska meetings, nuclear talks, and the ambition to denuclearize. It's less a conventional briefing and more an improvised performance of geopolitics, where outcomes depend on charisma, instinct, and leverage. Moves to domestic tragedy, the Baltimore Bridge collapse. Trump recounts the event in vivid, almost cinematic language. He focuses not on policy, but physics, the mass of a ship, the courage of a police officer, the fragility of steel. To him, the event becomes a parable about strength and recognition. He calls for a medal for the officer who closed the bridge, transforming a local disaster into a national metaphor for vigilance. Even in mourning, Trump recenters the narrative on action, mass, and consequence, ideas that run through his entire message today: the mass of the economy, the weight of tariffs, the power of a single decision. At the 30-minute mark, the press briefing takes a sharper turn toward politics and accountability. Questions emerge about investigations, endorsements, and the future of domestic governance. The tone in the room changes. The air thickens with confrontation. Trump responds without pause. When asked about Chris Christie, he offers no political restraint, describing him as a man who escaped responsibility for one of New Jersey's most infamous scandals, the George Washington Bridge closure. He recounts the event as if reliving it, accusing Christie of blame shifting and moral failure. His phrasing is unmistakably personal. In moments like this, the distinction between public duty and private grievance blurs. Each answer carries the rhythm of a courtroom speech, a mixture of assertion, justification, and retribution. The former president is not just answering questions, he is rewriting narratives. When pressed about a possible investigation into Christie, he deflects but leaves his judgment hanging in the air. "I always thought he got away with murder." The phrase lands heavily. It is not a literal accusation, but a symbolic one, a reminder that, in Trump's political vocabulary, perception often outweighs procedure. The conversation shifts to Texas. The question, who will he endorse in the Senate race, Ken Paxton or John Cornyn? Trump smiles through the inquiry. He says he likes them both and hates situations where two allies compete. Then, he highlights what matters most to his audience, his endorsement record. Nearly every candidate he's backed, he says, has won. It's a moment that reveals the mechanism of Trump's influence. Endorsements, to him, are not simply political favors. They are proof of power, tokens of loyalty exchanged for electoral victory. He recalls the record vote counts he received in Texas, using numbers as affirmation, as if the math itself justifies the movement. He pivots next to Congress and fiscal matters. A reporter asks about a potential reconciliation bill, about the likelihood of new budget cuts. His response reaffirms a long-standing promise. No harm will come to Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security. These are, in his words, untouchable. He explains his logic with a businessman's precision. Waste, he says, should be cut, but not at the expense of citizens. Then, with characteristic flair, he introduces a new claim, that his administration uncovered 300,000 illegals collecting Social Security benefits. In his telling, this discovery didn't just save money, it saved the system. Every line draws a contrast between discipline and empathy, austerity and protection. He redefines conservative economics not as withdrawal, but as redirection, cutting waste, not welfare. It's a narrative built for middle America, where the idea of government efficiency resonates as deeply as patriotism itself. Then comes the pivot, pharmaceutical reform. Trump's tone sharpens, his confidence returns. He unveils an ambitious vision to cut drug prices by over 1,000%. The figures are staggering. He compares the cost of medication in Germany to those in the U.S. "We were subsidizing the world, a national disgrace, and we're not doing it anymore." This isn't incremental reform. Outrage it's a complete ownership, restructuring that has followed him since his first campaign. America pays too much, and he alone will renegotiate the bill. He invokes favored nations pricing, an idea he had championed before the pandemic. The policy, he says, will force drug companies to sell to Americans at the same price they offer to foreign governments. It's populist economics wrapped in national pride. Beneath the surface, it's also a challenge to the pharmaceutical lobby, one of Washington's most entrenched powers. Named Surface, Dr. Oz, Bobby's group. He credits them with managing the plan and claims broad cooperation from drug companies. Whether the details align with regulatory feasibility is unclear, but the message is unmistakable. Trump wants to be seen as the president who broke the back of Big Pharma. He builds momentum with familiar rhythm. Cause, effect, triumph. The segment crescendos into a promise that no Republican would lose another election once these price cuts take hold. The remark is half boast, half prophecy. Reporters seize the moment to redirect the discussion. A question cuts through. Why do you think President Putin is so reluctant to meet with President Zelensky? Trump's reply is swift and disarmingly simple. Because he doesn't like him. In that brief answer lies an entire worldview. Complex geopolitics reduced to human dynamics, personalities, chemistry, respect. For Trump, international relations are built less on treaties and more on temperaments. He repeats his conviction that, under his presidency, the war in Ukraine would never have begun. He references Putin's own words, asserting that the Russian leader admitted as much. The argument follows a familiar pattern. Strength prevents war, weakness invites it. He blames Afghanistan for signaling incompetence to adversaries, portraying the chaotic withdrawal as the spark that ignited larger conflicts. There is no script, no teleprompter. His delivery moves like instinct. He speaks of fraudulent elections, of fake leadership, of military weakness. Whether or not one agrees, the intent is clear: to rewrite the recent past as evidence of what could have been avoided under his command. The topic then drifts eastward, to North Korea. Trump's confidence grows. He recalls his relationship with Kim Jong-un, calling it respectful, even warm. He acknowledges that he likes him a lot, though he says it with caution, aware of how such statements are received. He insists their personal connection kept the world stable. He recalls summits, letters, and handshakes, not as failed diplomacy, but as proof of peace through dialogue. The claim is audacious, yet consistent with his central thesis. Peace is not achieved through policy. It is negotiated through personality. He contrasts his era with what might have been. If Hillary Clinton had won, he says, there would have been nuclear war. In his narrative, personal rapport replaced deterrence, and mutual respect replaced brinkmanship. Whether history supports that is irrelevant to the construction of his argument. It is emotional logic, not empirical. He concludes this section with a reflection that feels almost rehearsed. Since I came into office, you haven't had a problem with him. The line lands as a subtle campaign message, suggesting that global calm was not an accident, but a result of his personal diplomacy. As the questions wind down, Trump turns back to domestic issues. He praises the reduction of crime in Washington, D.C., attributing it to leadership and decisive action. The transition feels abrupt, yet deliberate, a return from the global to the local, from the abstract to the tangible. He paints a picture of revitalization, restaurants reopening, citizens walking freely, a city reborn. The imagery mirrors his larger message: decline followed by restoration, chaos followed by control. It's a metaphor not just for a city, but for a country he believes only he can restore. By the hour mark, the press conference feels less like a briefing and more like a performance, an extended declaration of intent. Every tangent, every anecdote, every claim threads back to his central theme: strength, control, and self-sufficiency. And though the questions change, from bridges to wars, from endorsements to drugs, the tone never does. For Trump, everything is negotiation, and every negotiation is proof of dominance. The hour passes, but Trump shows no sign of fatigue. The exchanges grow longer, his voice steadier, the confidence unmistakable. He begins drawing connections between past policy and current consequence, blending memory with momentum. Every statement now seems aimed at something beyond the press room, a larger audience watching, waiting for direction. He is asked about America's energy policy, and immediately, the answer becomes a lesson in self-reliance. He calls the U.S. an energy-dominant nation, emphasizing what he sees as one of his presidency's greatest achievements: energy independence. Under him, he says, America was not only producing enough oil and gas for itself, it was exporting it. We had so much we didn't know what to do with it, he insists, before declaring that under the current administration, the nation had surrendered that power. The topic unfolds like a case study. He describes pipelines, drilling permits, and OPEC negotiations. He claims that when America stopped producing, others began manipulating the market. Prices rose, families suffered, inflation took hold. Everything ties back to energy, he says. You can't build a strong country on expensive fuel. His cadence sharpens, the tone almost instructional. It's not the fiery campaign style, but the rhythm of an executive recounting data points. He reminds the press that during his term, gas prices fell, manufacturing returned, and inflation stayed low. Now look at it, he says, shaking his head slightly. All reversed, all gone. A question comes from the back row, about sanctions, about whether the U.S. should remain as aggressive in using them. Trump pauses, then answers with a characteristic blend of simplicity and strategy. Sanctions are tools, not policies. He argues that they work only when they're unexpected, only when they carry credibility. They believed me, he says, because they knew I would act. He recounts moments of negotiation with China, Iran, and North Korea, each framed as an example of psychological leverage. You don't need to start wars, he says. You just need to make them think you might. It's the same peace through strength formula that's defined his rhetoric since the 1980s. But now, it sounds more like doctrine than slogan. At 70 minutes, Trump circles back to the economy. He insists that interest rates are choking small businesses and homeowners, painting a picture of economic strangulation. He compares the stock market under his administration to the current performance, noting record highs followed by uncertainty. People had hope then, he says. Now, they're afraid to look at their 401k. He attributes the shift to poor management and global dependency. The theme of sovereignty returns, not just national sovereignty, but financial sovereignty. We should never let other countries control our energy, our manufacturing, or our money, he declares. It's an argument that stretches naturally into the digital age, technology, where questions of control and autonomy China calling them one of the boldest economic moves in modern history. Critics called it a trade war, he says, but to him, it was a rebalancing. They took advantage of us for decades, he continues. And finally someone said enough. There's a strange satisfaction in his tone. The conflict, for him, was not destructive, it was productive. The tariffs, he claims, brought billions into U.S. revenue. He portrays himself as the first president to treat international economics as a battlefield where America could win. A question rises about artificial intelligence, its risks, its regulation. Trump answers with cautious openness. He says AI can be powerful, transformative, even dangerous. But he argues it's the same as any tool. Its danger lies not in its creation, but in who controls it. He warns against outsourcing technology to nations that don't share our values, subtly referring to China again. It's a moment that ties the past and the future together. Industrial power once meant factories and oil, now it means chips and algorithms. And in Trump's logic, the same principle applies. Control the means of production or risk subservience. If you lose control of your technology, he says, you lose control of your destiny. As the briefing stretches toward 80 minutes, the questions become more pointed, touching on democracy, institutions, and elections. A reporter asks about his repeated claims of election fraud and whether he still believes the 2020 results were illegitimate. He doesn't hesitate. Absolutely, he says. It was rigged, everyone knows it. The claim, though contested by courts and election officials, remains central to his narrative. He insists that mail-in voting was abused, that ballot integrity was compromised, and that investigations were suppressed. To him, the 2020 election wasn't just a political event, it was a betrayal. He contrasts that sense of betrayal with his prediction for 2024. This time, he says, it'll be too big to rig. The line elicits murmurs from the press, but applause from supporters watching elsewhere. It's more than a slogan. It's a rallying cry for a movement built on grievance and restoration. His language fuses populism with certainty. He promises that every vote will be counted, that every precinct will be watched, and that any irregularity will be exposed. They can't stop the people, he declares, not when the people are awake. Around the 85-minute mark, the questions turn international again. This time, it's about NATO and European defense spending. Trump returns to a familiar anecdote, his confrontation with European leaders who, he says, refused to pay their fair share. They weren't paying, he repeats. We were protecting them, and they were laughing at us. He describes the scene vividly, recalling how he told them the U.S. might not come to their defense if they didn't meet the 2% spending target. They paid after that, he says, billions of dollars. It's one of his proudest recollections, a moment where pressure turned into compliance. The story encapsulates his transactional worldview, alliances as deals, diplomacy as leverage. He reiterates that America's strength is not just military, but moral, that it must stand for itself first, before it can lead. You can't save the world if you're falling apart at home, he says. The phrase hangs heavy, almost like a thesis statement for his entire foreign policy outlook. As the 90-minute mark approaches, Trump seems to gather all the threads together. Energy, trade, borders, and defense. They all converge into a single message of control, independence, and national revival. He speaks not as a candidate chasing votes, but as a leader reclaiming a lost order. The tone is resolute, almost prophetic. We did it once, he says, and we can do it again. The repetition builds rhythm, a mantra that ties the past administration to a potential future one. His voice lowers slightly, but the conviction strengthens. We had peace, we had strength, we had respect, he says, and we'll have it again. By now, the press room is quieter. The exchanges have slowed, but the message has crystallized. Trump has turned a standard briefing into a declaration, a statement not just of policy, but of philosophy. The briefing enters its final stretch. The cameras remain fixed, the air dense with tension and curiosity. Trump takes a sip of water, leans forward on the podium, and begins tying the entire conversation together. The tone shifts again, from defensive to visionary. It is less about explaining the past now, and more about charting what comes next. He begins with economics. America, he says, must reclaim its role as the center of global finance, but on its own terms. The Federal Reserve, he claims, has lost touch with the real economy. They're not serving the people, he says, they're serving themselves. He accuses them of manipulating interest rates and devaluing the dollar through reckless monetary expansion. When they print too much, it's the people who pay, he continues. Your savings shrink, your paycheck buys less, and your debt grows. He pauses and looks across the room. We built this country on hard money, not fake money, he says. We need to get back to that. The line sparks a ripple through the press because it signals something bigger, an implicit challenge to the financial establishment itself. From there, the message begins to evolve into something broader, a warning about dependence on centralized systems. Trump argues that the world's future economies will be built not by bureaucrats, but by innovators. He references blockchain technology indirectly, speaking of secure, verifiable systems that don't depend on government trust. To those listening closely, it's clear that he's nodding toward the rising tide of decentralized finance, the same wave reshaping markets across the globe. He doesn't mention Bitcoin by name, but his words strike close. People want freedom, he says, and that includes financial freedom. He talks about how new technologies are giving individuals control over their money, assets, and identity, bypassing traditional gatekeepers. He predicts a global shift in how people transact, invest, and save, what he calls a revolution of trust. As he speaks, it becomes evident that this executive order he's signing is not only about crime or construction. It's a framework for control and restructuring. The order emphasizes law enforcement cooperation, but woven beneath it is a vision of national security extended to finance, technology, and trade. To Trump, these are not separate issues. They're the same battle fought on multiple fronts. Around the 95-minute mark, he turns his attention to technology companies. He criticizes them for censorship, data collection, and what he calls un-American control of speech. He asserts that the government must protect citizens' rights not just in the physical world, but online. If a platform can silence a president, he says, then no citizen is safe. He frames it as both a constitutional and cultural crisis, linking digital freedom to the future of democracy itself. He then connects it all: law, technology, and money. The argument is simple but potent. Whoever controls information and currency controls the people. We used to trust the media, he says, now we trust data. He describes a future where accountability is built into systems, not institutions, a subtle reflection of the blockchain ethos, though he never uses the term directly. The next segment turns global. He describes an international realignment, where countries are beginning to trade outside of the US dollar. He names China, Russia, and certain Gulf nations that have formed financial systems independent of American influence. They don't want our money, he warns. They want their own power. He calls it the greatest economic threat in history, the possibility of losing the dollar's dominance. He then paints a picture of what could happen if the US fails to act: weakened influence, higher inflation, and diminished leverage in global negotiations. The dollar is not just currency, he says, it's power. Lose it, and we lose everything. His solution? Rebuilding trust, restoring production, and reducing debt. The triad becomes a kind of national doctrine. You can't print greatness, he adds quietly. You have to earn it. At the 100-minute mark, Trump's tone deepens. He talks about legacy, about what America will mean to the next generation. He reminds the audience that history remembers builders, not critics. You look back, and you see Washington, Lincoln, Reagan. They built something that lasted, he says. We're going to do the same. He signs the executive order formally, a symbolic act but also a political statement. The sound of the pen clicking echoes across the room. The order focuses on federal coordination in combating violent crime, revitalizing infrastructure, and enhancing domestic production. But in his commentary, he broadens its meaning. It becomes, in his words, a foundation for restoring American order. He stresses that law and economy cannot be separated. You can't have safety without strength, and you can't have strength without prosperity, he explains. He outlines new initiatives for rebuilding Washington's roads, restoring public spaces, and streamlining construction, an echo of the American renewal theme. It's not just about beauty, he says. It's about pride. He weaves in his belief that urban renewal must go hand in hand with financial reform. A cleaner, safer capital, he argues, will attract investment and business confidence. He repeats that government should act quickly and spend wisely. We'll do in months what they couldn't do in decades, he says, and it'll cost a fraction. The press begins pressing him on timelines, on costs, on oversight. Trump waves them off, saying transparency will be total. You'll see every dollar, he assures, because there'll be no waste. Again, the tone shifts toward efficiency and accountability, two recurring pillars of his governance message. At 1 hour and 50 minutes, Trump turns philosophical. He begins to speak of America as both an idea and a responsibility. He reflects on how the country had lost its confidence and how restoring that faith is as important as restoring infrastructure. When people stop believing in their country, he says, the country stops believing in them. He calls the executive order a message to the world that America is back to leading by example. He insists that the next phase will not be about imposing policy abroad, but rebuilding integrity at home. We're not trying to police the planet, he says. We're trying to protect our people. As the session nears its close, he speaks with renewed clarity about global competition. He warns that while the United States debates politics, other nations are building new systems, digital, financial, and military, that challenge Western dominance. He points to the rise of digital currencies backed by governments and hints that America must develop its own alternatives. If we don't lead in innovation, he says, we'll follow in dependency. In his closing minutes, Trump calls on Americans to rediscover self-reliance. We built this nation with our hands, not handouts, he says. We have the talent, the land, and the spirit to do it again. He emphasizes that the order he has signed is just the start, a blueprint for revival, anchored in law, fueled by accountability, and aimed at restoring power to the people. Then, as if summing up 2 hours of discourse, he looks directly at the press and delivers his final line. The American dream isn't dead. It's just waiting for real leadership. With that, he steps away from the podium. The cameras click, the crowd murmurs, and the session concludes. The executive order, signed on October 25, 2025, becomes not just a legal directive, but a declaration of intent to rebuild, to reclaim, and to redefine America's place in a rapidly transforming global economy. The room empties, but the echo of his words lingers, linking domestic renewal with global reawakening, national pride with digital independence, and politics with the pulse of a world on the edge of a new financial era.
And safety and comfort in their community.
And we've got the people to do it. They're signing up like they've never signed up before. Our military, as you know, during the campaign, nobody was signing up. We were way short of their goal, we were understaffed. Nobody wanted to be in the military, nobody wanted to be a policeman, nobody wanted to be a fireman. They didn't want anything to do with the country. We had an grossly incompetent president who frankly should not have been there. He should have never been there. The damage he did to this country is incalculable. I mean, just what he has done, so much of our effort are getting murderers and jailbirds and people out of this country who are drug dealers at the highest level. So much of the energy of people that he led in, it was an unforced error, but I don't think they think it's an error, but I don't believe he believed it. It was the radical lunatics that surrounded this guy at this desk, who are brilliant people, but with the wrong philosophy. There were some brilliant people, but they're evil people, and they're going to be brought down. They have to be brought down because they really hurt our country. But we're getting it back very quickly. And I'll tell you something, our country's Now it's stronger. I think we're more respected than we've been respected in 100 years. It's a whole different ballgame. JD, could I ask you,
Yes, sir.
You gave a stat on murders here. What were the numbers? You said in a short period of time how many people were murdered?
Local law enforcement told me, sir, that in the past 20 or 30 years, DC has averaged a murder every other day. That's, 200 murders a year, 150, 250, but about every other day a person has been killed on the streets of Washington, D.C. We've been doing this for 2 weeks. 0 people killed. That's real lives saved that the media and frankly the entire Democratic Party should be saying, thank you for saving lives instead of attacking the President of the United States for doing so.
When a person, unfortunately, will probably happen at some point when a person's murdered in D.C., it's going to be the biggest story maybe in history. Right?
Yes, sir.
Somebody was murdered in D.C. Trump is failing. No, we're not failing. We have a safe city. This is maybe the safest city in America right now. That's how good it is. And it would be nice to be appreciated. These people eventually, they're going to have to be appreciated for what they're doing. And they're going to have to be appreciated by the officials that are really happy when we go in because they've lost control of their place. Steve Miller, please say a few words.
Thank you, sir. So just to, first of all, follow up on what the Vice President said. No police officer working in the city can remember a time in their lives when there has been no murders. You can work at the police department for 20 years, 30 years, your whole life. We've checked the records. No one can even find a record of being murder-free for as long as you've been murder-free under President Trump's leadership. Additionally, and the President spoke about this before, we've uncovered, in the process of uncovering, a massive scandal in Washington, D.C. with the doctoring of crime stats. And the Department of Justice, under the Attorney General, is leading the effort to uncover this. But when we ultimately share the results, it will stun you. The extent to which, even though D.C. had the worst crime in America, honestly measured, it dramatically understated how bad it was. There's even accusations that murders and homicides were reported as accidents instead of murders. I mean, this is how severe the manipulation of the crime data has been in the city, and it will all be uncovered and it will all be brought to light. I've had a chance to spend some time, as everyone here, with the police officers in the city. Members of the public are going up to them and thanking them, just overflowing with gratitude, because for the first time in their lives, they can use the parks, they can walk on the streets. You have people who can walk freely at night without having to worry about being robbed or mugged. They're wearing their watches again. They're wearing jewelry again. They're carrying purses again. People had changed their whole lives in this city for fear of being murdered, mugged, and carjacked. It is a literal statement that President Trump has freed 700,000 people in this city who were living under the rule of criminals and thugs. And the last thing I'll say is that under the efforts of Terry, to my left and many here, what they found also is that the street criminals here in Washington, D.C. were doing business directly with the transnational criminal cartels, the foreign terrorist organizations. So not only was the city being run by these criminal thugs, but they were working with some of the most dangerous terrorist organizations on the planet to traffic weapons and drugs into this city. And what we are uncovering every day is shocking to us, and we look forward to sharing all the results with you. But President Trump, your leadership has uncovered some of the great public safety scandals of our life, and now because of you, people are safe and free for the first time ever in this city.
Thank you very much, Steve. In Los Angeles, Beverly Hills is, a great place. I have a house there. I had a house there. I used to stay a lot of time, spend a lot of time there. And a great place. Do you know that I have friends, they leave their trunk open for their car because they know they're going to be vandalized. They don't want the trunk ripped off in order for them to steal what's in the back. They leave the doors open so when they go in to steal the radio or whatever they take, that they don't rip off the door. They leave the doors totally open so the criminals, when they go and open the door, they'll have to break the windows and kill the car in order to steal whatever it is in the car that they're looking for. And that's at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Nobody lives like that. I have another friend, he has a garage, and in order to save his garage door, he leaves it open so that people can just walk into his garage, take whatever they want, and leave. But all the cars so many cars, I've been told this by many people, stars, big people, they leave their doors open so the doors aren't destroyed by these criminals. All over Los Angeles this is taking place. And you know that, I mean, you've heard that. Christy, could you say a few words?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, I think one of the most impactful statistics that you used today was of the 1,000 arrests that have happened already so far, 439 of them were illegal criminals, which means they never should have been in this country to begin with. But they were in this country, invaded over our southern border or our northern border or maritime seas, and then they committed crimes against the American people. So by getting those individuals incarcerated, we've stopped those violent crimes from happening here in the city. And sir, they do. Exactly like Stephen was talking, they have ties to cartels. They have networks across this country and other cities. So by what you're doing here is going to have a ripple effect in Miami, in Chicago, in other cities, because you're grabbing those networks and giving us information and targeting information to go and get more criminals across this country. So thank you for the work that you're doing. We have ICE and CBP, Federal Protective Services, Secret Service, HSI, all of our officers are working with all the other agencies every day here in DC, and they're so proud to have this kind of partnership. So they're so glad that you're letting them do their jobs again. And I don't know if you've heard, sir, but the recruitment campaign for ICE, when we were going to hire 10,000 new officers, we've got over 130,000 people that have applied and raised their hands and said they want to work with ICE. So no matter what the fake news says or what the media says about ICE not having support, they've got incredible support from the American people. People want to join them and help them do what they're doing to make America safe again. So thank you for the
I was going to say that our recruitment drive, so it was dead. During the campaign, they couldn't get, every story was the Army can't fill up, the Marines, none of them could fill up. They were way behind. We couldn't get anybody to go into the military, couldn't get any police. We have just set records on everybody wants to be in, everybody wants to go in. And we're taking incredible people. I mean, the level of, because of the Supreme Court, it's based on merit. It's all based on merit now. It's not based on anything else. You got to, if you need strong people, you have to get strong people. It's all based on merit. But we're setting records in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the Coast Guard. One of my favorites, because I happen to have created it, Space Force. We're very proud of Space Force. It's amazing what it's doing. We're leading in space now. China was killing us. Russia was beating us. China was killing us. We're now killing China. We are leading in space by a lot because of Space Force. So we're very proud. But everybody wants to go in. We went from not, and you know how bad that is for the spirit when every story that you were writing a year ago was that nobody wants to go into the military anymore. And if you're in the military, you know how deflating that is? You go home to your family. Nobody wants a job that you have. Well, now it's the opposite. Everybody wants to be there. And that includes police and fire and everything else. You're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir.
You're stopping a lot of wars. just the presidents we're stopping them. We've stopped 7 wars, and really the number is actually 10. We're not including a couple, and we're not including in there what we did with Iran, stopping their nuclear play. They would have had within a month or two, they would have had a nice big nuclear weapon to use. That's not going to happen. That won't happen. Pete, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. President, thank you very much for your leadership. And the Defense Department is proud to be a part of this task force. Just like we have been down at the southwest border, where crossings are at 0. We've got national defense areas where we're working with Border Patrol to secure the southern border for the American people. Just like Los Angeles, where ICE officers deserve to do their job without being attacked, we're really proud to be a part of defending the nation's capital and ensuring it is safe and beautiful and working with law enforcement. And Mr. President, let me tell you, the morale of the troops, getting out there talking to them, they love this mission. They're grateful to be doing it, whether they're DC National Guard or other state National Guards. And at your direction as well, sir, it's just common sense to make sure they're armed as well. And so we're rolling out ensuring they're armed, capable of defending themselves and others if need be, supporting law enforcement, and we're proud to be there, sir.
Well, look at the mission you just accomplished with Iran. 36 hours back and forth, flawless. Every bomb hit its target. They went right down those chutes, dark at night, no moon, no nothing. Every target, every bomb went right down. They have a chute that goes right down deep into the mountain. And they shouldn't have put ventilation in, I can tell you, because we used that for our advantage. But what they did, and we had the pilots and even the people that took care of the planes, we had a whole group of people at the White House a couple of weeks ago. And you know, I didn't realize this, but they said, we've been looking at their predecessors, and then these were the pilots. They said, we gave them beautiful medals. And I'll show you the medal. Gave them a medal just like this. See? Just like that. They were so happy. Gave a lot of them out for that. It was an incredible job. You know, we had 52 tankers. People don't realize, so that they could refuel. We had many fighter jets, F-22s, F-35s. We had many. It was an amazing operation. It was flawless. Compare that to the operation when they went in with the helicopters crashing and everyone running around the desert, and the prisoners being taken, and that was Jimmy Carter. What a horrible thing. This was the exact opposite. This was the exact opposite of what they did in leaving a very, very nice place. The Taliban runs a tough operation in Afghanistan, and I think it was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. That was Biden. I was leaving, and we would have left through strength, tremendous strength. We would have kept Bagram, which is the air base, one of the largest runways in the world, one of the most powerful. You could land anything on it, many, many feet thick. You don't build them that way anymore. You can't. But we left it, and now China's occupying that air base. This was the most incompetent administration in history, the Biden administration. And you're just lucky that they lost, because if they won, you wouldn't have a country anymore. And so, Pete, you started up by saying the Department of Defense. And somehow it didn't sound good to me. You know, it didn't sound good. Defense, what are we defense? Why are we defense? So it used to be called the Department of War. And it had a stronger sound. And as you know, we won World War I, we won World War II, we won everything. Now we have a Department of Defense with defenders. I don't know. If you people want to, standing behind me, if you take a little vote, if you want to change it back to what it was when we used to win wars all the time, that's okay with me. All right?
That's coming
You
soon,
go.
sir.
You let me know if you want to do it. I think Department of War. It just sounded bad. He said, "Sir, on behalf of the Department of Defense." Defense. I don't want to be defense only. We want defense, but we want offense too, if that's okay. So you'll make a decision. But you know, as Department of War, we won everything. We won everything. And I think we're going to have to go back to that. In the meantime, I've stopped all of these wars. I've stopped them. The big one would have been India and Pakistan. But we stopped them all. We stopped 3 wars. Go to Africa. They like to say, oh, you know, let me tell you, I love black people. And I did great with the vote with the black people. But they say, he's a racist, he's a racist. I said, really? For 35 years, a war raged between Rwanda and the Republic of the Congo. And it was a vicious war. 9 million people were killed with machetes, largely. Hatchets, machetes. That went on for more than 30 years, but 34, 35 years. And I stopped it. In fact, the presidents are coming in a week or two to sign we have the foreign ministers, it's all signed, the war stopped. But I got it stopped and saved a lot of lives. The Congo, that's deepest, darkest Africa. I got that war stopped. Nobody else could have done that. We did a lot of jobs. We did a lot of wars were stopped that nobody thought would even be possible. And I'll tell you what, the war with India and Pakistan, that was the next level. That was going to be a nuclear war. They already shot down 7 jets. That was raging. And I said, you guys want to do trade? We're not doing any trade. We're not doing anything with you if you keep fighting. You got 24 hours to settle it. They said, well, there's no more war going. And I used that on numerous occasions. Trade, I used I used whatever you had to use. But we got 7 of them stopped. And the one I thought would be easiest, frankly, was going to be Russia and Ukraine. But that turns out to be some big personality conflicts. It's one of those things. But we're going to get that stopped eventually. We're going to get that stopped too. 7,000 soldiers died last week. Think of that, 7,000. I usually say 5,000, but 7,221 soldiers died last week in the fight between Ukraine and Russia. And they're not our soldiers, but they're souls. They're living souls, and they leave their homes, and they wave to their parents, and their parents are so proud as they leave in a beautiful uniform, and a week later they get their head blown off by a drone. New form of military. It's a whole new form of fighting. So I would just like to thank the people that are behind me. Thank you very much. You've done a fantastic job. I appreciate it very much. We're doing a real job, and I'm so proud of DC. I passed it 2 days ago, and all the garbage is off the streets. It's terrible. I I came in a month and a half ago. I'm driving down and I see garbage all over the place. The streets were a pigsty. Like I won't use the city's names, but you know what I'm talking about. There are plenty of them outside of this country and inside of this country. Baltimore is a horrible, horrible deathbed. It's a deathbed. I know Governor Moore said, oh, he wants to take a walk with me. He meant it in a derogatory tone. I said, no, I'm the President of the United States. Clean up your crime and I'll walk with you. But it's tremendous crime. But he was trying to be derogatory. He doesn't have what it takes. But he's trying to be derogatory. And I met him at the Army-Navy game. They said, oh, there's Governor Moore. He'd love to see you. He came over to me. He hugged me, shook my hand. You were there. He said, sir, you're the greatest president of my lifetime. I said, it's really nice that you say that. I'd love you to say it publicly, but I don't think you can do that, so it's okay. But no, sir, you're doing a fantastic job. I want to just shake your hand. Thank you very much, Governor. That was it. And then every time I see him on television, he's knocking the hell out of me. So, but that's all right. That's called politics. But Governor Moore's he's doing a bad job. Newsom's doing a bad job. All of their potential candidates are doing a bad job. I can't imagine Pritzker being even a candidate, but somebody said he is. He can't do the work, can't do the job. He's not temperamentally suited. So I just want to thank you all for being here. Do you have some questions?
Is the Pentagon, and maybe the Secretary of Defense can weigh into, is the Pentagon preparing for military deployment to Chicago? And with what you said there, are you waiting for the government?
We're ready to go anywhere. We have a full complement of great human beings. We're full. You know, our military is full. We were way empty 1 year ago. Now we're full. So we can go anywhere on less than 24 hours notice.
Are you waiting for the government?
And we're doing a lot to interdict to stop drugs from coming in too. We have ships out on sea. You know, we have nobody coming through our border anymore. Nobody. Doesn't that feel good to know that you don't have prisoners coming in and, you know, killers, murderers? We had 11,888 murderers come in, led in by the Biden administration. Many of them have been captured, but we still have a couple of thousand that are out there. Some of them, 50% of them killed more than one person, okay? But a lot of them have been captured. What they've done to our country, these people that circled this moron that we had behind this desk, what they've done to our country is unthinkable. It's unthinkable. I mean, if you think, so much of our time is devoted to correcting a problem that all they had to do is say, close the borders. Remember when he said, well, I have no power to close the border. I have to go back and get an act from Congress. I didn't get an act from Congress. I came in, I said, close the borders. And Tom Homan, who's not here, has been fantastic, Christy, right?
Yes.
Tom Homan is great. He's a fantastic man and respected by everybody. But I said, Tom, close the borders. Christy, close the borders. The borders were closed. We didn't go to Congress and get permission. We just closed the borders. And in the last 3 months, hard to believe this one too, in the last 3 months we've had 0 people come into our country illegally through the southern border. Nobody would have said that's possible. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, MS-13 gangbanger and human trafficker Kilmar Abrego Garcia turned himself into ICE in Baltimore. Do you have any comment on this? And why are the Democrats so emotionally attached to this man who beats his wife and is part of a terrorist organization?
Because they think he's going to be good for votes, and I think he's very bad for votes. These people are deranged. He's not good for votes. He beat the hell out of his wife. His wife is afraid to even talk about him. She's been mauled by this animal. And, you know, through a system of liberal courts, you know, he's doing things. But, no, we have that under control. And Pam has got that very much under control. Do you want to comment on it?
No, we've got him under control. He will no longer terrorize our country. He's currently charged with human smuggling, including children. The guy needs to be in prison. He doesn't need to be on the streets like all these liberals want him to be. And as part of this operation here in DC, we've also taken off MS-13 members. We've taken, I think just last night, we got a TDA guy off our streets right here, right around from where we all work. Another TDA member gone because of this project. So we're going to keep America safe from all of these foreign terrorist organizations, including Abrego Garcia.
Mr. President, if we could get your
reaction, sir. The Israelis bombed a hospital in Gaza, killed 20 people, including 5 journalists.
When did this happen?
This happened overnight, today.
I didn't know.
Can you answer this?
Well, I'm not happy about it. I don't want to see it. At the same time, we have to end that whole nightmare. I'm the one that got the hostages out. I got them out, all of them. Steve Witkoff has been amazing. He's done a great job. But I'm the one that got them all out through my people and through me. And now we're left with probably a little bit less than 20, because I think 1 or 2 are gone. And I said a long time ago, I'm going to get them out, but when we get down to that final 10 or 20, these people aren't going to release them because they're dead after they release them. So it's a nasty situation, very nasty, horrible thing.
Mr. President, could you please elaborate on your post on South Korea? What were you referring to?
Well, I heard that there were raids on churches over the last few days, very vicious raids on churches by the new government in South Korea. That they even went into our military base and got information. They probably shouldn't have done that, but I heard bad things. I don't know if it's true or not. I'll be finding out. As you know, your new president's coming in just a couple of hours, coming here. I look forward to meeting him. But we won't stand for that. We just won't stand for that. Yes.
Are you prepared to order National Guard troops, though, into American cities if those governors don't request the federal deployment?
I am, but I also think that, look, Chicago, everybody knows how bad it is. Everybody standing there knows. We know. You don't have to be doing any studies. They should be saying, please come in. Pritzker should be saying that. You know, I did a favor for Christy Whitmer. A good favor, I think, with the fish, the carp, the China carp. Did you ever hear of it? China carp. And it's taken over your Great Lakes. You know about that, right? And she came and she wanted to know if it's possible for us to do something about it. And I said, well, I'll do. But I think it's appropriate that the person from Illinois, the governor from Illinois, asks also. It's a tremendously expensive project, actually. It's invasive, it's horrible what's happened, and we can do it with GSA and various people, but we can do it. We're going to just have to see what happens, okay? We're going to have to see what happens. But the governor of Michigan came, was very respectful, asked for it. She's done a good job. I did that. I opened the Air Force Base, kept it open for F-35s and various planes, F-22s too. I did that for the state of Michigan at her request. And I will, and also at our congressmen. We have congressmen that are unbelievably pro-Michigan up there. But some of this stuff, like the lakes, the Great Lakes, this is a big problem that nobody ever talks about. Most of you probably have never heard of. We have a pretty violent fish that comes from China, China carp, Chinese carp. And you see them jumping out. They jump into boats and they jump all over the place. They've got a lot of energy. And there's a way of getting rid of them. It's very expensive. And I didn't get a request from the governor of Illinois, who is affected maybe more than anybody else, right? And I think until I get that request from that guy, I'm not going to do anything about it. And I feel the same way about crime. We go in, we will solve Chicago within 1 week, maybe less, but within 1 week we will have no crime in Chicago, just like we have no crime in DC. But, I don't like to go in and do it and then have somebody stand up and say what a great job he's doing on crime. And we don't want the military in our state. We don't want the military. Do you understand? Do you understand that?
Yeah, these governors will say.
So I don't know. So we're going to have a little meeting. I think, I feel like we go in and we do it, like here. To a lesser extent with the mayor, she hasn't been terrible, but she hasn't been, exactly saying, oh, great. She did say last night, I heard her say that, well, we really don't want the military in D.C. Well, that's, not very nice, I guess. That's a little bit of a hit, but she's not as bad as some. We saved Los Angeles, and all we did is get criticized by this idiot that's running the state into the ground, right, when people are leaving. He should be thanking us, and he should be requesting us to be there. And the governor of Illinois should be. Chicago's a disaster. And the governor of Illinois should say, President, would you do us the honor of cleaning up our city? We need help. They need help. They need help.
So are you
But
waiting
without that
for-
We may wait, we may or may not. We may just go in and do it, which is probably what we should do. The problem is, it's not nice when you go in and do it and somebody else is standing there saying, as we give great results, say, we don't want the military. They need help badly. Chicago desperately needs help. Just look at the crime statistics. Look at the statistics that JD said about, even I didn't know it was that bad. That's terrible. But all I know is we're being celebrated because we went an entire week. Now it's 11 days. We went an entire week without a murder. And I said, boy, that sounds terrible. I didn't know how to, I actually made a speech. I didn't know how to say it because it's a great number. It's a great thing. But it sounds so bad. I mean, supposing you're from a foreign country which is properly run and they don't have murders and things, right, so much, or in some cases virtually at all. And you have somebody saying, I'm proud to announce that nobody was murdered in the capital of the United States this week. It sounds terrible, but...
Mr. President, Gavin Newsom, you mentioned Gavin Newsom on crime.
Gavin Newsom, yes.
Is there a federal mechanism you're hoping to use to fight back against his redistricting constitutional amendment, or is that...
Well, I think I'm going to be filing a lawsuit pretty soon, and I think we're going to be very successful in it. We're going to be filing it through the Department of Justice. That's going to happen. And we're also going to be filing a lawsuit on blue slipping. You know, blue slips make it impossible for me as president to appoint a judge or a U.S. attorney because they have a gentleman's agreement. It's nothing memorialized. It's a gentleman's agreement that's about 100 years old, where if you have a president like a Republican and if you have a Democrat senator, that senator can stop you from appointing a judge or a U.S. attorney. In particular, those are the two, I guess anything, but those are the two that are very important. So we have numerous states where we have unbelievable people. Now, Jay Clayton was just approved in the Southern District, but he was so good. He was a top student, top schools, top everything, went to Sullivan and Cromwell, became the head of Sullivan and Cromwell, came down here, was Securities and Exchange Commission, ran it for 4 years during my term, like impeccably, beautiful job. He did an incredible job. And we went to court, and the judges, Democrat judges, voted that he could, that's the only way you get by it. But generally speaking, you can't do that because you'll have judges from the other party. So Jay Clayton just got approved, and he's in, but he didn't get approved by the senators. He got approved by the court system in New York, which was a great thing. And I had a big victory in New York, I might add. I saved myself $500 million with a fake, corrupt attorney general, a really corrupt person with a corrupt judge who was disgraceful, and they're being mauled right now by everybody. It's so corrupt, and it kept business out of New York. Stuff like that. But the appellate division vacated all of that stuff that you read about, and we're going to do a big number on that whole thing. You can't have a corrupt court system. You can't have that. You have to have borders, and you have to have a free press. Otherwise, you don't have a country. But you'll be hearing about the blue slipping, because if you have not, you don't need two senators. You just need one Democrat senator with a Republican. The only person that I can get approved are Democrats or maybe weak Republicans, but we don't want that. But the only person I will be able to get approved in any of those states where you have a Democrat will be, I can't get a U.S. attorney. I can only get a Democrat U.S. attorney. And this is based on an old custom. It's not based on law, and I think it's unconstitutional, and I'll probably be filing a suit on that pretty soon. Yeah, please.
During the campaign, you called Kamala Harris a communist, but the Biden-Harris administration, they never called for nationalizing a private company with the federal government like you're proposing with Intel. What do you say to some who say this is a bit hypocritical, and is this the new way of doing industrial policy?
Yeah, sure it is. I want to try and get as much as I can. If people come in and they need something, as an example, as a real estate person, if I have an agreement and I have any form of a stopgap where I can stop somebody from doing something, right? I have a covenant in an agreement, and they come to me and they say, would like to do something, but you have us restricted. if I do that, they usually have to pay. Now, in the case of Intel, it was interesting, but I hope I'm going to have many more cases like it. Intel came in. I met with the gentleman. I had a lot of respect for him. He came in under a little bit of a cloud. I liked his story. I thought he was good. I think he really means to do a good job with Intel. I said, I'd like to ask whether or not you'd give, because the story, a lot of people said I invested in Intel. I didn't invest, but I invest my heart in it and my soul because I want the country to be strong. But I said, I'd like you to give 10% of Intel to the United States of America. Not to me, to the United States of America. And I said, if you have them as a partner, you have the United States as a partner, I think that would be a very good thing for Intel. And he thought about it, a little bit different, and he said, I like that idea very much. We have a deal. And I just made $10 billion or $11 billion for the United States of America. And yeah, there will be other cases. If I have that opportunity again, I would do that. And then, you do have stupid people say, oh, that's a shame. It's not a shame. It's called business. If somebody's willing to give you 10% of a company and you're not paying for it, and I will tell you, with a company like Intel, as you know, it's had difficulty. I want them to do well. I want them to do well anyway, but I want them to do well in particular now.
But isn't public ownership of a private company a new way of doing business in the business of the United States? Isn't that what you were
So are tariffs. So are tariffs. So, as you know, the stock market went up almost 1,000 points on Friday. And it went up not because of this very, I think, terrible, hello, who is that back there? All right, get out of the room. It went up because of something much different. It went up because it was announced, CBO announced the numbers, and as you know, they gave no credit to tariffs. They said they made a mistake, that the trade deficit will be reduced because of Trump's tariffs, will be reduced by $4 trillion, right? Is that what they said, right? They said $4 trillion, and the market went up like a rocket ship because the tariffs are good. Well, tariffs aren't that usual. If the 7 wars I stopped, 4 of them were because of the fact that I had tariffs and trade. And I was able to say, well, if you do this, if you go fight and you want to kill everybody, that's okay. But I'm going to charge you each 100% tariff when you trade with us. You know what? They all gave up. I stopped 7 wars. Numerous of them was because of tariffs. So, you never knew the word tariff. It didn't exist really, essentially, in this country until actually in the 1870s up till 1913 it existed. And we were the richest country. We were richer then, proportionately, than at any time in the history of our country. And then, stupidly, in 1913, they said, let's go to the income tax way of life. Let the people pay instead of foreign countries. No, we're taking in trillions of dollars in tariffs, and we're stopping wars because of tariffs. So that's not so normal either. But you know what? Other countries did it to us, and now we're doing it to other countries.
You ruled out boots on the ground in Ukraine, but how would air support as part of a security guarantee be any different? Those U.S.
Well, you really went from one question to the next. You go from one. I expected him to at least challenge you. Now we're talking about boots on the ground.
But U.S. air assets over the skies of Ukraine as part of a security guarantee. Wouldn't those U.S. airmen also be?
Well, you don't know what security guarantee is because we haven't even discussed the specifics of it, and we'll see. Number one, Europe is going to give them significant security guarantees, and they should because they're right there. But we'll be involved from the standpoint of backup. We're going to help them, and I think if we get a deal, and I think we will, but if we get a deal, you're not going to. I don't believe you're going to have much of a problem. But we'll back it up because I want to stop seeing people being killed. When Biden was here, he gave $350 billion. You know this from covering business. $350 billion to Ukraine. I said that Zelensky's the greatest salesman I think I've ever met, better than P.T. Barnum, because he'd come to the country, he'd walk out with $50 billion every time. He actually came here once, he walked out with $100 billion. We're up to $350 billion. I got $1 trillion worth of rare earth that we have from the country because I felt badly for our taxpayer. But I did something else at the NATO meeting. They are wealthy countries, but they weren't paying. And we don't pay any money to Ukraine anymore. Do you know that? In fact, it's the opposite. They request through NATO, we deal with NATO, we don't deal really with Ukraine. NATO requests missiles, they want Patriots, they want missiles. We give the missiles to NATO, NATO pays us in full and does what they want. I mean, I think they give them mostly they can do other things with them too, because we're dealing with NATO. We pay no money to Ukraine. We gave $350 billion to Ukraine. You know, if we didn't give that kind of money, and I was the one that gave the javelins, if you remember. I gave the javelins, they were very effective. They say Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. They were very effective with those tanks right at the beginning. But you would have never had a war if I were president. You would have never had a war. Just to finish, we spend no money on Ukraine anymore. We were getting fleeced by a president that didn't know what he was doing. To be honest, I don't blame Ukraine. I mean, if they come and ask for $100 billion, then they get it. But we were in for $350 billion. Now, we make money. I don't want to make money on Ukraine. I want the war to end because I want to save all those lives. I want to just say, but just so you understand, we're no longer losing money on that thing. We were losing money hand over fist. And now we don't lose any money. Now we sell weapons to NATO. Because NATO agreed, because of me, to go to 5%. They had 2% and didn't pay. Now they have 5% and they're all paid up. So they have trillions of dollars and they give us that money. But I really want the war to end, and we're going to get it ended.
Mr. President, this is a historic summit here with Ukrainian President Zelensky and European leaders all met here with you at the White House. You said you wanted to get this done bilateral as soon as possible. Have you spoken to Putin since last Monday?
Yeah, I have.
What is your conversation? Or can you share?
Every conversation I have with him is a good conversation, and then unfortunately a bomb is loaded up into Kiev or someplace, and then I get very angry about it. I think we're going to get the war done. It's tough. I thought that would be, of the 7 that I settled, I thought that would be the easiest of the group. See, you never know what's going to happen. You know, war, strange things happen in war. The fact that he went to Alaska, our country, I think was a big statement that he wants to get it done. That was not easy for him to go to Alaska, you know, for him to come here. But the fact that he showed up on a very successful day, it was a very successful day for other things. Because, you know, we're also talking about missiles, nuclear. We're talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about limiting nuclear weapons. We'll get China into that. We have the most. Russia has the second most, and China has third, but China is way behind, but they'll catch us in 5 years. We would like to denuclearize. It's too much power, and we talked about that also. That's part of it, but we have to get the war over with.
On Baltimore, sir. Thank you. On Baltimore, you said that you are going to have to reconsider bridge funding. Is that contingent on Westmore cleaning up the streets?
No, we were very generous to him on a bridge. You know, a boat ran into a bridge and the bridge came down like I've never seen anything. The boat was it just shows you the mass of that boat, the power of that boat. You know, people were up on that bridge, painters, they were painting the bridge and they were watching it happen. And they thought they were very safe. They all died. They were painting the bridge, can you imagine? And they watched the boat. The engines were off, and they watched the boat, and the power of that boat, the mass of that boat, went right through that steel just like it was nothing. It's amazing. It's called mass. Mass is a big deal. But the mass of that boat, those people all died. But they thought they were totally safe. They were eating their lunch. They were, you know, whatever. They were watching it. They could have gotten off. Somebody did a very good job. A police officer called in and said, close the bridge, and he did it with power. Get everybody off the bridge, close that. That guy should get a medal because he stopped the bridge. A lot of people would have died, a lot more people would have died. The ones that died were the workers on the bridge. And they thought there was no danger because, you know, it's a big steel bridge. And it came down like toothpicks. It was incredible to watch that. It was just, and they died, they all died. But that police officer, again, the police do a great job. The police officer did an amazing job. And I heard the tapes. He would say, get everybody off it. Most people wouldn't have said that. You know, when you see a thing like that, you assume it's going to, you know, tap the bridge and it's going to be rebuffed. The thing just came down. I've never seen anything like it. So he did a good job. In fact, I think we should get him in for a medal. The man that gave the warning, I listened to him. Everybody get off screaming. Everybody off. He had the sense to realize that this could be a catastrophe as opposed to a ship that's, because the engines weren't working, it's just floating. It's an amazing thing that a thing floating like that with no power just knocked it right down like it was nothing. Let's do that. Let's give him a medal. I've been thinking about that.
Mr. President, do you plan to investigate Chris Christie?
Saying what?
Do you plan to investigate Chris Christie?
Look, Chris is a slob. Everybody knows it. I know Chris better than anybody in the room. I always felt he was guilty. But what he did is he took the George Washington Bridge, which is very serious. He closed down the George Washington Bridge. And you had medical people, you had ambulances caught up. This thing was closed down. And obviously he knew about it. But he blamed the young lady that worked for him and another person, and they got into a lot of trouble. She ultimately was, I don't know, exonerated, but she got out of it a little bit. But she went through hell. She was a young mother, nice person, I knew her a little bit. And another man went to jail, and Chris got off. And so when I listen to Chris speak his hate, I say, oh, what about the George Washington Bridge? You know, tell me about the George Washington Bridge. He blamed other people, but he knew all about it. So no, I don't know if they want to look at it. It's not for me. If they want to look at it, they can. You can ask Pam. I think we have other things to do, but I always thought he got away with murder.
Mr. President, do you plan to make an endorsement in the Texas Senate race between Ken Paxton and John Cornyn?
Well, I'll make up my mind. I like them both. The worst situation I have is when I have two people that I get along with well. I hate it. And they all want the endorsement. You know, I'm almost 100% of the people I endorse win. It's a great honor. And I got, as you know, I got the largest vote in the history of Texas by far. Nobody's ever gotten more votes in the last election. I think in all the elections, the 3 elections. But they like me in Texas. So people are waiting for me, but I'd rather not comment on it right now. I like both guys. They're both friends of mine. And they're both good and very different.
There's some talk among congressional Republicans about another reconciliation bill. Where do you fall on that, and what would you like to prioritize?
Well, I don't want to do cutting. I want to save all the different things. I'm going to cut things that are unnecessary, but the one thing I said, and I gave my word, we're not going to hurt anybody on Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security. And in fact, we're doing great on Social Security. We found 300,000 illegals on Social Security. We got them out. And, you know, things like that make Social Security very, very strong. So, no, I am very big into certain things, and one of those 3, you could say 3 of those things are Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to protect it. And so we'll see how everything works out. If we're talking about rescissions on other things, I'm always open to cost cutting. If we can cost cut, I like it, but nothing's going to happen to medical. We have something coming up, favored nations, where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,500%, where a pill that sells in Germany for $10 costs $150 here because of the bad price. And I was all set to do it, and then we had the COVID come up, and I had to focus on that because we had the greatest economy in history my first term. I will tell you that we are going to be doing numbers on the cost of drugs in this country that I'm not talking about a 20% decrease, which would be great. I'm talking about 1,000% decrease. We're talking about where a product would sell for $80 in Germany and $1,300 here. And we're not going to do that. We were subsidizing the entire world, and we're not doing it anymore. I informed the drug companies. I informed the world. And if the world wants to, if countries in the world don't want to go along, then I'm going to put tariffs on those countries, and we'll make more money. But they have to go along with it. So this is moving along rapidly. Dr. Oz is in charge, Bobby's group, and they're doing very well. And we're getting great cooperation from the drug, because the drug companies know it's unfair. You know, for years they'd say, well, we had to do research, and we had to do. I said, I don't care. You had to do research for these other countries also. They are ready to go. And I'm ready to go. And you know, if I pull that off, there's no way a Republican we'll lose an election. There's no way. All right, one more question, Steve. Steve, what's this guy? He's the nicest guy I know, and he asks the most vicious questions.
Why do you think President Putin is so reluctant to meet with President Zelensky?
Because he doesn't like him. He doesn't like him. You know, they don't like. I have people I don't like. I don't like to meet with them. Sometimes I do like to meet with people I don't like. They don't like. No, they don't like each other really. And if we had a real president instead of a guy that got in there with a fraudulent election, if we had a real president, that war would have never happened. Putin actually said, he said, if Trump were president, it wouldn't have happened. It happened for a lot of reasons. It happened because of Afghanistan. When he saw how incompetent Milley was and all these guys were, I think he said, wow, this might be, because it was the apple of his eye. It would have never happened if I were president.
Mr. President, you have built relationship with Russian leaders and also North Korean leaders. As they are getting closer, how would that affect your diplomatic approach?
Well, I have very good relationships with Kim Jong-un, North Korea. I mean, a lot of people would say, oh, that's terrible. No, it's good. In fact, someday I'll see him. I look forward to seeing him. He was very good with me. We had 2 meetings, we had 2 summits. We got along great. I know him better than you do. I know him better than anybody, almost, other than his sister. His sister knows him pretty well. No, I know him well, and I got along with him. You know, I'm not supposed to say I really like him a lot, because if I do that, I get killed in the fake news media. But I got along with him very well, and we had no problem. If at the time Hillary Clinton won the election, you would have had a nuclear war. You would have had a nuclear war. We're not going to have a nuclear war. Once that happens, it's over. We're not going to have a nuclear war. No, but Kim Jong-un will meet at some point. I look forward to it, actually. But you notice that since I came into office, you haven't had a problem with him. Hasn't been, you know, he tests lots of rockets. He does have great capability, I will say that. But I think a lot of good things are happening for our country. A lot of really good things. And the thing we're here today to talk about is crime, and specifically in D.C. I am so proud of what these people, every one of them, what they've done in D.C., because to literally stop crime on a button. I'd walk down that street right now. If I were, friends of mine are going out to dinner now. They haven't gone out to dinner in 4 years. They were petrified. Half the restaurants closed because nobody could go because they're afraid to go outside. Now those restaurants are open, and new restaurants are opening up. It's like a boom town. It's a great thing to see, and I'm very proud of the people behind me. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.